With all the changes to contribution experience and the map UI like moving tunes around easier, there's never been a better time to get started with Worker Empire. Welcome back to the channel, my name's Teddy, and for everyone that's been waiting to see how I set up my Worker Empire and why, the wait is over. I'll be going down the basics on my own Worker Empire to help you get an idea on some of the things that you can do with your own Worker Empire. If you find this helpful, be sure to leave a like, and without wasting any more time, let's just jump into the Worker Empire for Black Desert Online. When it comes to all the different ways to make money in Black Desert, the Worker Empire has to be one of the best ways with just how passive it can be. Depending on how you choose to invest, printing billions a week can be done while mob grinding or fishing out in Velia Beach. For the newer player, the Worker Empire allows workers to gather materials for crafting, turning materials into trade crates, or just selling everything on the central market for easy silver. Setting up a good Worker Empire can reduce the need to buy cooking and alchemy materials, with workers able to gather almost all the ingredients. But in order to have all this fun, you'll need the required contribution to rent these nodes. There are several ways to go about getting the contribution points needed, which I have a guide showing each of those ways. The link will be in the top corner and down below for the newer players and those needing a refresh. But to keep this brief, cooking is one of the fastest ways to earn contribution points needed for the Worker Empire with all the byproducts, and because workers need to eat, cooking stacks of grilled bird meat can keep your workers going while building all the points needed. Each contribution point bracket will require more or less experience to earn a single point, with 600 being a soft cap, and there's no limit on how many you can earn. It'll just take forever to earn 1 point after 600. But once you spent all those points you've earned, you'll need to either earn more, or for those willing to be pay to win, has the option to spend pearls on the worker lodging, storage, stables, and wharf slots in every town to refund contribution points back to invest into other areas. This, however, has a limit on how many worker lodgings you can get, and it doesn't remove the need to rent the prerequisite nodes leading up to the one they want, but it does give us the option to max out our storage without having to invest into any nodes, like over here in Olvia, for example. Workers are the next topic to cover, with these guys able to do wonders on nodes with proper skills, or choosing certain races for certain jobs. Like mentioned already, in order to get the workers, you must have the lodging space for them, which can be rented in towns or bought from the pearl shop. Despite popular beliefs, not every worker race is the same, and each one shines doing something different. Goblins, Papu, Dwarves, and Dokkaebi are the fastest workers, perfect for crates or those nodes further away, but are for the more active players needing to be constantly fed. Humans, Faddis, and the Dulceway workers excel on excavation nodes with higher luck and are the middle ground for speed and need for food. Giants and Showfolk are the last workers we have, with the two being the slowest, but are able to gather a ton more materials per cycle over any other worker, and they don't need to be fed as much. We also have special workers that can be hired around Black Desert, with two notable ones being Gagruga here in Cheat Mountain and Bravant over here in Trent. These workers cannot be promoted, but come with an extra special repeat skill like +2 to ore or lumber crates, and is one more skill over the usual 9 a normal worker can learn. With that being said, workers come in different grades. Green, blue, yellow, and red ranked lowest to best. Green to yellow grades can be promoted once every 10 levels for a total of 4 chances to rank up, but each tier has a lower and lower chance. Every 5 levels, a worker will learn a new skill, and if you can't promote the worker, all the skills are wiped and better ones can be learned. But if the promotion attempts are used and they don't promo, they cannot be promoted anymore and will have to be fired. At level 30, the worker skills are able to be changed at a random chance at the cost of 20% of the worker's experience, which I personally wait until Artisan to start playing around with the skills, or it can take a longer time to be able to promote them. Just having your workers is one thing, now you'll need to understand what the skills can do. Depending on the activity, certain skills can increase the amount of crates, materials gathered, or even the work and movement speeds of the workers. With that in mind, skills like farm knowledge, simple, work supervisor, mastery, and adept worker increase all node work speeds, not just farming nodes. Quick, wings, and adept worker increase movement speed. And keep in mind, not only does movement speed affect how quickly a worker can travel from node to node, but also quickly a worker can travel from storage to the workshop when making any crafts. And obviously, Lucky Guy increases luck. Skills like costume knowledge or tool knowledge, for example, are self-explanatory, with increasing the work speed of their workshop crafting. Thrifty skills are able to refund a percentage of the materials used for crafting or crates, but there's a catch. Thrifty only affects quantities 10 or more, so crates like Calpheon are unaffected. Tier 2 workshops like in Grana or Edania do benefit from the thrifty skills, and other crafts like chopping or heating T2 materials in a workshop, cooking, or alchemy tools, even shipyards do benefit. Hacking and repeat skills increase the amount of crates produced for their respected workshops for each cycle, like packing skills. Production skills like armor, life skill clothes, or siege weapons do the same for their workshops in the same way. Finally, we have the leveling skills like blessed hand, legwork, and craftsmanship, which will increase the stats in a small percentage each level, making these perfect for trying to min-max a worker before promoting to artisan. There's a few skills worth mentioning since they're a bit different. Mass production knowledge only affects ship and wagon crafting work speed, which is kind of misleading. General knowledge skill increases the work speed of refineries, but the specialty nodes are the ones earned from the first house ranking, so it's not really worth it for that. Specialty knowledge only affects the investment bank node work speeds. And the last skill is the transportation skill, which allows a worker to gather from any node and transport to any town anywhere on the map without needing to interact with it. This will not increase the time needed to gather and will help storage management, but doesn't apply to crates or any crafted items, only gathering nodes. If you're still confused on any skills, Grumpy Green has a nice section on their website for all the worker skills and what they can do if you need a more in-depth look. I'll leave a link down below with any other information needed. After all the workers and the contribution, now you'll need to figure out the focus of your empire, and luckily, I'm here to give you a few ideas. There's a few reasons to go out and make a worker empire, like easier cooking materials, trade crates, and tools to name a few, but with contribution points being a grind, it's always best to focus on one aspect, then add on to your empire. Something to keep in mind, the more pearls you spend on the worker empire, the more activities you can invest into. But for the free-to-play empires, just starting out, your focus will be small and will eventually build up to a nice empire around 400 contribution points. The Workman app is a great website you can use to invest and test out different empire builds without needing to waste energy in game. A link will also be down below for those who still need it. And don't worry if you're still confused on which nodes are good, let me show you how I have my empire by each region. When starting out investing into an empire, I personally like to start with Valencia since it has a ton of nodes that need a lot of contribution points. Before taking the city nodes, first I like to take the Gavania Volcano node for the vanadium and titanium ore for mana accessories, while the crystals can be used for the royal workshop. Next is Araha Palm Forest for the palm timber crates. Then it's on to Valencia. Here I chose 7 workshops for the black, red, green, and the mud crystals, steel, Mediah, and palm timber crates, and I chose lodging leading up to them for more workers. The only other node I invested to here in the region is the Calpheon node for opals that can either be sold or made into trade crates. As for connecting Valencia, I chose Encanto Harbor to Durko Island leading up to Hope Pier, then to Shakatu because I wanted Edania connected. Altanova is the next with a lot of good nodes. Starting at the bottom, I took the abandoned iron mine sub-nodes for the zinc, iron, and the black crystals for all the trade crates, and iron for tools or other crafts. Next, I chose both the Omar Lava Cave sub-nodes for the zinc, coal, and the platinum ore mainly. Auto Farm has become more important with the removal of most of the silver embroidered, and choosing the cotton lets me craft more farmer and trader clothes. Also, I chose to take the Alto 1 farm for lodging out in Altanova. The Stonetail Horse Ranch is an automatic given since we're able to craft horse gear here, and it's where we awaken all of the T9 and T10, so I chose the horse gear workshop and storages for sorting more of the training materials. Because traces are expensive, I took the Ancient Excavation node for the Trace of Nature and the bonus opals. The Ancient Fissure was my next choice for the zinc and the bonus red crystals for trade crates. And unlike Valencia City, I didn't invest anything into Altanova since I only store life scaling gear here. Still moving west is the Serendia region. There's some nice nodes around here for amazing empire setups to play around with, so starting with the gathering nodes is the usual. Alejandro's farm for the cooking honey and the pumpkins for cooking. Lynch farm ruins for the trace of nature, and gold is an automatic given. Moving down, I took the Glish swamp node next for the lead sub node for more trade crates. Glish Runes has a nice node for the Trace of Nature and Platinum for Horse Awakening. The Southern Swamp node is great for iron ore and rough mud crystals. Finally, Serendia Shrine has more pine and monk's branch for my trade crates and alchemy. For the towns out here, in Glish, I chose lodging for workers, metal and wood workshops for crates, stables for more horses while training, and the tool workshop for wells, and lastly, storage for full investment. For Heidel, this used to be my costume capital, but with almost all the silver embroidered removed, I chose Heidel 7-1 for storage, 7-2 floor 1 for the wood workshop, and 7-3 for lodging until I get more pearls to refund the lodging. Before moving on to Calpheon, Balenos region is more important for my empire and has a ton of nodes worth investing into. Like with all the other regions, I like to start with the gathering nodes first, though Goblin Cave is a good start with the copper, translucent crystal, ash timber, and the spirit leaves from the subnodes. Awaz Hill is another choice for the ash timber for more trade crates. Then I chose the Bartali farm, both subnodes for the chicken meat, eggs, and potatoes. The Forest of Seclusion is my next pick for the Maple and the Monk's branch for alchemy. At Tuscany Farm, I only chose to invest into the lodging at Balenos 6-1 Tuscany Farm. The Ancient Stone Chamber is a must for the Trace of Nature and passive gold. As for the towns, Olivia is my alchemy empire and I invested into a residence for cooking and alchemy. But to increase how much trade experience I can get, I also took Olivia 1-1 for the wood workshop since it connects 1-2 for the mushroom workshop I really wanted. My storage is maxed out, so the only other option was to go for another workshop. For Velia, I took Velia room 1 and 2 for lodging, room 3 for fish, Velia 2-1 for the wood workshop, and Velia 5-1 for the metal workshop. Moving on to the Calpheon region, there's a lot of lumber and mining nodes for trade crates. The Northern Abandoned Quarry recently got updated to include copper and the translucent crystals, so obviously I had to take the subnode being connected to the Serendia region from the Oz Pass. Kepler Quarry is a good node for coal for steel crates. Old Dandelion is the next must on my list for the birch timber, and the Kuro Cave right next to it has the tin and red crystals for even more trade crates. I chose the Northern Wheat Plantations for the Paprika node for easy paprika so I don't have to keep running to the vendor and buy some when I choose to actually cook. And as for the Baronetto Farm, I know I said that wrong. There's only the Excavation node for Trace of Nature and Platinum. Keeping up with the timber crates, we have the Breachery Ruins for birch timber. Heading down south towards Trent, I took the Mancha Forest for both subnodes since one has fur and the other has the Excavation node for Trace of Nature and gold. The Rotomount Station is one of the only nodes that has tin and the green crystal, so it's a must for my trade crate empire. Taking the Treant subnode has the fur and Bloody Tree Dot for alchemy. Still going with the lumbering, we have the Longleaf Tree Forest since it has the cedar timber and sap. Bear Riverhead has another tin node, making this a third and final node providing it. As for the Rua Tree Stub, this node has more Trace of Nature and an added bonus of opal. The Abandoned Quarry is great for zinc ore and powder of earth. I chose the Marie Cave for the nice pine subnode for more timber needed, then the Hexstone Wall node for more iron ore. Changing pace, I have a lot of fish drying nodes near Feria, starting out with Circa Island for the mullet, both Randus Island subnodes for the sorrel, Mau Mau, John Dory, and octopus. Finally, I took Beza Island for the octopus and nibbler. Now, for my city and my town nodes, over at Kepler, I chose this as my ore capital. I took 3 metal workshops with the storage and worker lodging to connect the workshop nodes at Kepler 1-5 floor 1 and Kepler 3-2. As for Bear, I took lodging at Bear 1 and 2 to help out the Trent lumbering. As for Trent, it's all about my lumbering, so I took storage to start the line off, then the wood workshop and the metal workshop for extra trade crates. The Feria is my fish capital, so I have all 3 fish workshops going. I took a Feria 3-2, 3-5, all first floors for storage. Then I took the Feria 1-1 floor 1 for lodging. Lastly, for Calpheon City, it's my cooking ingredient capital, and I chose not to invest anything into here. It's time to head north up to the Land of the Morning Light for the cheap and easy nodes before heading on to the more demanding regions. After connecting Nampo to Aquala's Eye, then Velia for 11 points, I took Hemo Island for the excavation node for more Trace of Nature. Next, I took Solji Forest for the Bracken or when I want to cook with it. Next, I took both the Dogaby Forest subnodes in hopes for the Trace of Nature, Translucent Crystal Forest, and the Crystal Harmony. Golden Pig Cave for the Crystal Darkness, Bitterness, and more Trace of Nature. Lastly, I took the Bombway Valley for the excavation and Tiger Flower subnodes for more trade crates. For the towns, in Nampo, I took every node starting with the crop workshop, lodging, and the last two storage nodes. While in Dalbo, I took only the Morning Light Dalbo 3 node for another crop workshop. And over in Butte County, I went a little heavy here, taking all the nodes minus the flower subnode. I took the rice, radish, and Napa cabbage for Imperial cook boxes. As for the town nodes, I took lodging for Nopse 1 and 2. Nopse 3 and 5 were used for Maju and the soy sauce used in cooking. And Nopse 4 is my tool workshop for the Land of the Morning Light cooking and alchemy tools. Since Seoul is part of the Land of the Morning Light and has cheap nodes, I chose to heavily invest into these nodes too. I connected Seoul from Bombay Gate, so I'll start from the top at Mount Ashi. The Trace of Nature and the Translucent Crystal subnode are a great choice for alchemy and crates. Then, moving to Matgold Village, there's an iron subnode with black crystals as a bonus. Violi Forest has 2 subnodes for maple timber, sap, and old tree bark, making it a must for alchemy and trade crates. Heading south, we have Myeonggeon Hall, which I probably pronounced wrong, for more Trace of Nature and Translucent Crystals. Dangrion Cave has 2 zinc and platinum subnodes worth investing into. Secret Society also has some great copper and rough opal. Dang Forest also has more zinc and platinum in another subnode, which I took. For Gyogui Cave, I took the copper node for more opal. Finally, I took Doom Ridges here for the sap and pine timber. Towns are a little different here, but over in Godu Village, I took all the gather nodes here for more rice, Napa cabbage, and radish for cooking. As for the town nodes, I took all 3 crop workshops to package Viola. Mukpo is where I send all of my mainland crates for the longest experience, bonus, and money, so I only took Bukpo 2 for being one of the most highest storage slots we can get out here. For Yukjo, it's a tad different with being used for the Royal Workshop, but for the town nodes, I chose all storage and Yukjo Street 2 for more lodging. I have guides on the Royal Workshop for those wanting a more in-depth look on this node, but most of the materials are gathered using the Royal Workshop itself to make the royal goods, unlike the normal trade crates needing either manually gathering or other workers to gather materials. There are royal goods that do require outside materials, but with all the nodes I took so far, the materials are gathered passively regardless. So moving on to the more demanding regions, we have Dreighan. This region has a few nodes worth looking into, like the Sherikan Necropolis for Mithril and Trace of Nature. The Fountain of Origin has more Trace of Nature with the added bonus of more Mithril. Then, the last node I took was the Kelp Canyon for both Nock and Zinc subnodes in hopes to get more Mithril to sell. Heading to Duvenkroon, this is my horse capital and has one of the highest stable slotted towns for free players like Glish, so I took the stables out here at Duvenkroon 1. Being one of the most expensive areas to invest into, I only took the wagon workshop here in Grana at Grana 4 until I finish making my second Forest Path wagon, because I'll lose all the progress and the materials selling the workshop where it's done. I'll refund after for another 3 contribution points to play around with. Like Grana, if you have the contribution points to spend, the Odalita region has a few good nodes, but for me, I only took the Shiv Valley Road for the Thornwood Timber and the Sap. Another expensive region, the Mountain of Eternal region, has a few nodes great for cooking and trade crates, but like Odalita, I only took 1 node, being the Windmills Perch for the Snowfield Timber and the Sap. Over at Elton, I made this my cook dish capital because there's a ton of different foods we can make and we get during the events. So I took Elton 1 and 2 for the storage. As for the Ulukita region, originally this area had no subnodes, but with the nodes being updated, we have a few good ones out here worth the time if you enjoy trade crates, but they can be a little expensive to get. At the top, I took the Neruda Plains for the Acacia Timber and Monk's Branch for alchemy. Darkseeker's Retreat is a decent node for the iron and the black crystals. Over at the Tungrad Ruins, I chose to take both subnodes for the Trace of Nature and the added crystals for both crates and the royal goods. The last 2 nodes I took out here are Stofbeer for more Acacia Timber and Yazard Highlands for the White Cedar Timber. We aren't given many options for the town nodes, so I only invested into Musgar for the lodging at Musgar 1. The newest region and the last one on the list we have is the Edania region. These nodes are highly situational and are more designed for endgame traders. Even though the contribution costs are low, like out in the Land of the Morning Light, most juicy nodes require 1 or 2 contribution points just to connect, and then you still need more to invest. So I took the Faith's Resting Place here for the Elder Tree Timber and the alchemy materials included. Next is the Ancient Ruins, which in my opinion has to be the most important node, having the new Kaffir's Tree timber and the sap for alchemy. Next I chose the Veiled Archives for more vanadium and Rough Mud Crystal. Moving up north, I chose the 2 Platera Mountain subnodes for the extra vanadium, mud crystal, elder tree timber, and more alchemy materials. Then moving down, I took the Ernest Mountains for the Trace of Nature, and what I really need, the green crystals for more crates. The final node I took is the Fish Drying node here at the Sanctuary Coastal Outpost. Unfortunately, we only have one town to invest in, which is very limited on the options. So here at Owl's Revelation, I took the Wood Workshop, Lodging, the Fish Workshop, and lastly, the Last Lodging. Now, I know this guide is a little bit longer and has a lot of useful information, but there's still some information that could help shape your empire for the better. If you notice, a lot of my towns are not being connected to a main line like Valencia or out to the Land of the Morning Light. This is because if you're not making trade crates and selling them, the materials can be transported using your workers, so you don't have to connect the town to any node other than the ones you're gathering from. Now, if you're making crates and the nodes are not connected, they can still be shipped out for an added triple cost. Then you can refund any node or earn more points when you want to go trade any of the trade crates in to earn the full amount of money once the origin node is connected where you chose to trade. When it comes to making everything using workers, they'll need blackstone powder, which can be extremely expensive. There's 2 ways to cut the cost of the powder, being mining for the starlight veins or the rough stones, then using workers in the level 2 or 3 refineries with all the thrifty skills to refund some rough stone just to make the blackstone powder. Without these methods, it can cost a few $100 million a week just in blackstone powder on the central market, so be careful. Firing and hiring workers can be done easier, allowing for more chances to get those artisan workers. We're now able to hire workers at any worker supervisor, and using any or all of our alt energy. It still takes the energy, but it lets us spend mob grinding alt energy where they are instead of having to run all the way to the town and interacting with the NPC. If you still need workers in Velia, Heidel, Calpheon, or Altanova, we have the Golden Seal work supervisors that are earned from workers on gathering nodes. These are a little bit random and cost a ton of seals, but it's a 0 energy way to get any workers for those towns. And there you have it. After playing around with my worker empire, this is currently what I'm focused on and the nodes I chose. Remember, everyone's worker empire is different, with their focus being on something other than yours. Of course, my empire may not make sense or is extremely pay to win, but Black Desert is a sandbox game and you should play how you choose and not how you think someone says you have to. I hope this helps you get ideas for your worker empire, explain some of those skills to help with those trade crates, or just make more money on the central market. With all the information, if I did miss anything, let me know down in the comments, or just tell me what your empires focus on. I'm curious on all the different ways everyone has built their empires with all the different material changes and new recipes added. Black Desert hasn't really been doing much for life skilling recently, which is making the game kind of stale, but more life skill updates are still planned to come out, like the Alchemy Stone rework and the Olivia classes, so keep an eye out for videos on those. And while you wait, check out the channel for all your life skilling needs. If you have any other video ideas, let me know down below. I'm gonna head back out to work on my worker empire, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep gathering out there, everyone.